What's up you lot, it's good to see your guys' faces again. In today's video we're going to be doing a bit of editing your photos. So on my Instagram about a week or two ago I uploaded a post, well just a story on my Instagram, and just asked if you're keen for me to edit your photos, send them through. And yeah, I had a little bit more people send through photos than I anticipated, which is pretty awesome. So today we're going to be editing those photos. I'm going to be giving my take on how I would edit their photos. I'll link all of their Instagram profiles in the description, so if you want to check out their work, you're more than welcome to. But anyways, let's jump into this video and edit some photos. First up we have Danilo Canales. I have no idea how to say your surname. Sorry bro, my apologies. Danilo, he's actually a portrait photographer here in Cape Town. This is the photo he sent in. We're quickly going to do a little edit. So first off, a lot of the shadows are quite darkened, so we want to bring those up so we can see what's happening in those shadows. We'll bring our highlights down so we can see a little bit more what's happening in the mist. Bring the exposure up a little bit, bring those whites, blacks down a bit, and then you want to bring that clarity. I always add a little bit of clarity to my photos to give it a little bit of pop. Remember, whenever you take up your clarity, your saturation also gets like desaturated, if that makes sense. So add some vibrance because saturation makes it look a bit amateur. For the tone curve, I'm going to be adding a bit of a faded look to the photo as it was an overcast day, and I just feel it's appropriate for that filmy aesthetic in this photo. With the tone curve, it's quite a creative direction, so you can get all funky as you want, but basically I just wanted to add in that filmy look. I always like to add some vignetting. And then in our split toning, all I usually ever do whenever I touch the split toning is I just add some nice oranges into the highlights just to give it a bit of a colorful pop as opposed to just basic plain whiteness. Now with the blues over here, we can get pretty funky with it because you want that jean jacket to stand out, as that's kind of like the subject of the photo. I think purely because I want that person to stand out a bit more, I'm just going to go with the brush tool lightly over it. Basically, you just want to bring that exposure up. You don't want to overblow it. I'm editing all of these photos with the mindset that they could potentially be posted on Instagram. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. You want that photo to grasp the viewer's attention because most people just scroll through that feed so quickly. They don't look at your photo for longer than 2 seconds most of the time. So you want to make it as captivating as possible. And I usually do that by having it like a little bit of a punchy color effect going on. And I feel like we've achieved that by making the person a little bit like more brightened up through the use of the brush tool. I do feel like the person isn't 100% in center, so I'm just going to use the crop tool and just like center it a bit more. With some touch-up editing afterwards in the basic panel, I'm pretty stoked on how this edit came out. Thank you so much bro for sending in your photos. Keep up the solid work. Next up we have Mr. Migael. I hope I said your surname correctly bro, apologies if I didn't, but this is the photo he sent in. He is a car photographer. So the first thing I would do to this photo is make it straight because it's a bit tilted as you can see. That way we just use our intuitive, basically like so. Also there's too much negative space going on as that car is basically the main focus of the photo. Alright, so that is how I cropped this photo. It was a bit tilted, so it made it a bit more tricky. I applied the rules of thirds while cropping it. Basically, if you bring up your crop tool again, you'll see this part over here is the car, this part over here is the arch and like how it shows the other side of the arch. Then the top here is the top of the arch. The only unfortunate part about this is that I have to Photoshop these people out. I'm not going to go into too much detail about every single photo basic panel, otherwise this video is going to be way too long. But basically I just want to bring those highlights down and I want to bring my shadows up so that I can see what's happening in those dark shaded areas. I feel it is appropriate to have a faded look to this photo as that yellow wall, that yellowy color is quite filmy, as well as the wall is quite, what's the correct word, like the paint is like worn off over time, so it has all of that like olden day style, especially with the car as well because the car is quite an old car. It'll all add to that nice filmy look. With the HSL color, I'm basically just going as creatively as I can almost. This is quite self-interpreted, whatever you prefer. I'm just doing whatever I find looks best or what I find most appealing to my eye. Right, so that's a nice basic edit. We're now going to take it over to Photoshop so I can take out all these unnecessary things that we don't want in the photo because that car is the main subject. We don't really want anything else in the photo. Okay, so did I just spend an hour editing this photo? Yes, I did. Photoshopping all that out was an absolute nightmare. In my mind, I think I did a pretty good job out of it. After I've taken it back into Lightroom, there's just some minor things I like to do again to my Photoshop photo. A little bit of the vignetting, just to give a little bit more effort to the actual subject. I think my laptop might be overheating from this super long screen recording. This is probably over an hour and 20 minutes now. Alright, yeah, that is my edit of this photo. Migael also sent in this awesome portrait. I absolutely love this photo. The sharpness and the clarity of this photo is absolutely insane, especially on the ISO of 100 f2.8. That is absolutely insane. So basically just bring the exposure up a little bit so you can see what's going on in the photos, bring those highlights down so that it's not blown out completely, bring those shadows up because you want to see what's happening in the shadows, bring your whites up just a tad bit, bring your blacks down, clarity up a little bit. I did a super basic tone curve edit. I don't want to complicate it too much. One thing with these portraits is you don't want to screw up your skin tones. You don't want to like make it completely burn out. So that's what I'm just trying to make sure that I don't screw up. In those highlights, I am going to bring a bit of an orange tint so that here on the forehead where it is a little bit blown out, just filling in that complete blown outness with some orangeness to balance out with his skin. That is my edit of this photo. Awesome work, Migael. Keep up the great work, bro. So next we have Mr. Joshua Cree. He's one of my good mates. He sent in this photo. The first thing I would do is get up the crop tool and then make this photo straight. You want to get that horizontal correct, if that makes sense. Unfortunately, I did have to color a bit of the wakeboard, which is quite annoying. Just a nice little basic edit. It is harsh daylight, so you don't want to absolutely kill your photo with editing. I just added a cheeky little bit of an orange and teal effect to get rid of that underlying purple tint that I really don't like in some photos. It's just a camera calibration kind of thing that just shows this ugly like purple tint over the photo. Basically what I am doing though is that with the blues and the greens, I'm bringing down the luminance. That way it brings out the detail in the background. But with the oranges and the yellows, I'm bringing my luminance up so that it can stand out from the background. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a bit of a cheat way instead of having to use the brush tool. But yeah, this is my edit of this photo. Thank you so much for sending in your photo, Josh. Keep up the solid work, man. Next we have Edrich. I'm assuming you're Afrikaans by that name. Hopefully I said your name correctly as well. Here we have a nice photo of this guy holding 2 Weet-Bix boxes. It's a pretty sick photo, it looks pretty cool. This photo was taken 10:30 at night. The best time to go buy yourself some Weet-Bix. But basically bring those highlights down, bring those shadows up so you can see what's happening in the shaded areas. Be careful that you don't bring it up too much that it starts to bring out noise in the background. One way to combat that noise is bring up your luminance quite nicely over there, not too much because you don't want to have a cloudy image. Bring that clarity up to fight that luminance. You can also bring in a fade. A fade also gets rid of some of that unwanted luminance. I did add in again a little bit of an orange and teal effect. This makes the photo a little bit more punchy, a little bit more colorful. But yeah, this is the way that I would edit this photo. Thank you so much for sending in your photos, bro. Really appreciate it. Keep up the awesome work, bro. Next we have Emidio Casper. I hope I said your name correctly, bro. He sent in this awesome photo of this lady. We're going to put a little bit of editing into it. So we're going to bring those highlights down so you can see a little bit more in those highlights. Bring those shadows up so you can also see more in those shadows. Whites ever so slightly. Black's going to bring that a bit down. Contrast up as well. Clarity up a little bit as well. I did play with the temperature just to make it a bit of a warmer photo as it is a sunset photo. Could be a sunrise photo, but because it's a sunset, you basically want to bring more of those oranges so it can like resemble a sunset. It's always helpful to do a little bit of a before and after just to see how much editing you've put into the photo, and it also gives you an idea of what you think you should do a little bit more of. Also the whites are too blown out, so you're going to bring that a little bit down. Bring those highlights down as well. Shadows I'm also going to bring a bit down because I feel like the person is too blown out. But yeah, that is how I would edit this photo. But anyways, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you want to see some of my work, go check out my Instagram. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers, guys.